Hello, this is Rich D'Angelo. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we're going to discuss the cloud and how the concept of the cloud can be deployed at any production facility today. The presentation is going to include a few segments. First, I'm going to give a brief presentation about the cloud and video production and how EditShare solutions allow you to create your own private cloud. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Barnes with EditShare, who's going to give a demonstration of some of the EditShare tools and to give you a sense of their power and ease of use. Once Jeff is finished with his demo, we're going to have a panel discussion, and the panel discussion will feature Nicholas Forrest, the technical director at Jimmy Lee, who recently deployed an EditShare solution for multi-site collaboration. Also on hand for the panel discussion will be Jeff Herzog, Senior Product Manager at EditShare, and Kenny Martin, a system integrator that has deployed private cloud solutions at many facilities, including broadcasters, post-production facilities, and government agencies. Okay, so when we talk about cloud and video production, typically the subject turns to the possibility of cloud storage replacing production storage. And this is where, in general, we quickly begin to recognize the limitations of a public cloud solution. When I say public cloud, I'm referring to a service provider such as Amazon, who makes storage available to the general public over the internet. And for real-time editing of high-resolution content, considering the connection speeds that are generally economically feasible to most facilities, editing video in real time off cloud storage is not a reality today. Likewise, relying on the cloud as a primary medium to store the material you're working with on a day-to-day basis would entail uploading terabytes per day, which would be a drag on productivity. Also, some of the advanced workflows that are associated with local centralized storage and integrated media asset management are generally not available with public cloud solutions. Examples of what I'm talking about are user-specific permissions for a range of media access as well as other tasks, and also the availability of user-friendly interfaces for entering and searching metadata, for example, or viewing proxies of high-resolution material. With all this in mind, as it stands, public cloud solutions tend to make the most sense from the point of view of being a potential archive destination, a place to store offline material that you're not needing to access on a day-to-day basis. What is becoming increasingly viable, on the other hand, is a more hybrid approach that really gives facilities the best of both worlds. A hybrid solution might consist of central storage that allows for real-time collaboration and editing with high-res material, a media asset management platform that allows you to quickly search and collaborate with that central storage, and also private cloud tools that facilitate multi-site collaboration. And we'll spend a lot of our time today talking about these types of private cloud capabilities. Within the EditShare product family, the primary tool set that provides these private cloud capabilities is called Airflow. Airflow is a web-based interface that allows you to share what's on your central EditShare storage with anyone in the world who's authorized, including on mobile devices such as tablets or phones. Some of the key features of Airflow include tools that allow the users to browse, search, and annotate media, the ability to add or update metadata markers and subclips, high quality, low bitrate streaming proxy files, which, as I mentioned, makes these types of files ideal for working on mobile devices, the ability to download material that you access in Airflow, as well as the ability to upload from the field into the central EditShare storage. And also importantly, Airflow is a simple and secure solution to deploy. Airflow can be used inside a facility on the local network, which is a great way for non-video personnel to get access to assets that they may need, particularly in marketing, for instance. Or, as we're focusing on largely today, it can be used remotely outside of a facility. And when it's set up for usage outside of a facility, it can be configured like any website that requires a unique username and password for access, or for even greater security, Airflow can be configured to only allow access through a VPN. Here is just a quick look at the Airflow interface, and shortly we'll be taking a deeper dive into this interface and get a sense of what you can do. But as you can see, even from this image, it's a clean, intuitive, web-based interface. Deploying a solution like Airflow opens up many potential possibilities. For an organization with multiple sites, such as Jimmy Lee, Airflow allows those other sites to peer into all of the online and offline content stored on that EditShare system at another site, complete with the collaboration tools, as well as the ability to download proxy or high-res content. Airflow has also proven to be a productivity-enhancing tools for creative direction. A great example would be reality TV. With Airflow, off-site producers can watch and comment on clips and even sequences that are created on location, and this provides a very simple and helpful method for reviewing the material and providing direction on it. It can literally cut post-production times in half and allow productions to spend more time focusing on being creative. Airflow is also ideal for a review and approval process, and we're actually going to illustrate a review and approval process as part of our demonstration today. And as part of a review and approval process, as we'll discuss, an approval could potentially kick off an entire automated workflow, so it's really quite powerful. Other potential applications include giving field journalists access to centralized assets for potential deployment on a web-based news site. So for instance, journalists may be working on an article about a specific subject and wants to search the main storage for any video relating to this subject, and Airflow allows them to both find it and download a version that could potentially be embedded onto the website. Or conversely, Airflow gives journalists the ability to upload material that's collected in the field and to share it with all their colleagues. Airflow, as I mentioned earlier, is also a good general tool for corporate media asset access. The web-based interface is simple enough for anyone to use. Illustrating kind of the limitless potential applications of Airflow, you can see some of the types of organizations that are deploying it. And it ranges from professional sports teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates to broadcasters such as KSAT, as well as universities and government agencies. It's a well-recognized, award-winning tool, and this tool continues to be innovated upon year upon year. To set the stage for the demonstration, which will begin in just a few moments, I just wanted to briefly describe the various components and options that comprise an EditShare Airflow deployment. The core building block of any EditShare deployment is the central storage. It's basically from this central storage that you would be creating a private cloud. An EditShare central storage solution is called Extreme. It provides workflow and collaboration features that dramatically increase productivity, including many of the features I referenced earlier that you're not going to be able to take advantage of in a public cloud setting, including project sharing, which is the ability not only to share media, but also to be able to share bins and sequences. And as I mentioned, with a central storage solution such as this, you're able to edit high resolution in real time from the central storage. Flow is the media asset management component of an EditShare deployment, and it allows you to do simple and advanced searching, to view proxy and full-res content, add, update, and edit metadata, create sequences and markers. There are a number of interface options with Flow, of which Airflow is one, and we're going to be taking a look at these interfaces and tool sets here in just a moment. Another potential option with any EditShare configuration is ARC, a tape or disk-based backup system. And ARC seamlessly integrates with EditShare shared storage and asset management. So for example, a Flow user who's authorized can search, archive material, view proxies of that material, and if it's what they want and need, they can restore that material from the archive to central storage in just a few keystrokes. As I mentioned, Nicholas Forrest, the Jimmy Lee, is on hand today, and he'll be fielding some questions during our panel discussion. Jimmy Lee is an example of a client that is deploying all of these components. With production taking place in Montreal, Toronto, New York, and Amsterdam, Jimmy Lee is taking advantage of not just Airflow, but other EditShare tools such as the sync tool that allows Jimmy Lee to sync selected content between their EditShare storage servers located in different locations. And when you deploy these various tools in concert with one another, really any media organization can create very powerful yet simple workflows. With that, I am going to hand the presentation over to Jeff Barnes, and he's going to show you some of these tools in action, including some of the new tools that are going to be introduced at NAB next month. So this will be kind of a sneak peek of some of what, if you're not able to make it to NAB next month and visit EditShare, you're going to see some of those tools in action here today.
Hi, everybody. As Rich mentioned, my name is Jeff Barnes. I'm the Director of Sales for North America. And yeah, we're going to spend some time looking at some of these interfaces and potential workflows that Rich outlined at the beginning of this presentation. To reiterate, what we'll be talking about is a few products that sit within our asset management suite of products called Flow. Having said that, Rich also outlined that we have a basis of a turnkey storage platform, the basis of most of the products that you can get into using EditShare products. I'll shorthand some of these things in regard to the storage platform layer, and hopefully we can make some few assumptions on spaces that I have mounted that are EditShare shared storage spaces from a collaborative physical storage platform, and quickly sort of springboard off into the use of asset management, how we would gain access to the asset management database in a variety of ways remotely, and some automation tool sets to create your own workflows to make the best efficiency of automated file delivery type platforms. And as Rich mentioned, some things coming up on the forecasted NAB announcements list. So as you can see my desktop here, I do have what we've already talked about in terms of some EditShare storage spaces. And these show me the contents and have clips in them, acts like shared storage in a traditional collaborative turnkey storage environment. So having said that, we jump right off into the tool sets that you would use in both an NLE environment and an asset management environment in the EditShare workflow set. The main tool for mounting these is what we call EditShare Connect. There are collaborative tool sets in EditShare Connect, again, that let you log in as a user locally as a nonlinear editor or local collaborator, has rights and privileges on that storage that dictate what storage I can see and have access to and share files with. There are also a lot of other features buried in the tabs of this EditShare Connect that don't focus specifically on our presentation today, but suffice it to say there are features within EditShare storage that add other features and tool sets for Avid workflows, Adobe Premiere workflows as other nonlinear creative tool sets. So I won't spend a lot of time on that specifically. But what we want to do is outline the different tool sets with the MAM, our media asset management suite, as well as some of the web tools and remote access clients. So I'll switch from this to what we use as the main suite for our asset management tool set, and it's called Flow Browse. And Flow Browse is a client that you install on Windows or Mac and use in-house primarily as a standalone client for producers, content editors, contributors, interns perhaps, a search tool, a browsing tool, ways to look for content without actually having the need to open up a nonlinear editing application. Within this tool set in Browse, you would find panels and access tool sets that are common or similar to perhaps other media asset management tool sets on the market. This is going to let us peer into the individual media spaces or network or drive shares that we have available to us in the EditShare workflow set. When we click on these, we will see the contents, and we have various view sorting tools to look at these in various ways. Obviously, we can do search. We can do advanced search within Flow to whittle down what you might eventually end up with tens of thousands of assets. You can do smart searches and save those smart searches for use later. The main things that you can do with Flow Browse, again, it is a very deep tool set. But first and foremost, you can use this to, again, review assets that are in shared storage, look at the proxy view of these. You can make a whole host of annotations with metadata that may be unique or common to all the file types that you have in your system on a top layer of metadata. But also Flow and its suite of tool sets let you create ways of making custom metadata that could be associated with different templates that users have access to, as well as annotating individual files with specific comment fields, required comment fields, and specific push buttons. And we'll come back to sort of these push buttons in a little bit when we talk about flow automation workflows and how to tie some of these things together with automated workflows under the hood. And again, with any of these clips, I have the ability to preview these in proxy form. I can set markers within these. I can annotate these as stage. I can color code these markers using different colors. The nice thing about all these annotations are the ability to search against them. And again, Flow Browse being a client that you would use primarily in-house, alongside or down the hall or at your desk in the facility along with your editors. The editors then have the ability to search against these same annotations and pull this material directly into their nonlinear editing system of choice. Again, primarily feature sets for Adobe Premiere and or Avid Media Composer. When we talk about cloud and accessing the Flow database remotely, we, within the last 2 years, have developed the product layer called Airflow. And Airflow is the natural expansion or web interface of access to the Flow database. So I already have an Airflow login connected to the system, and I'll close the Flow Browse panel here. We can just focus on the Airflow interface. And what this does is gives me a same or similar set, a way to look at the material that's accessible in the media spaces that are on the EditShare system. And this gives me the ability to, sorry, I'm just going to log back in here. I apologize. Log in with my username credentials. Sorry about that. And again, look at the list of clips that are available to me in a similar but slightly different view than I had with Flow Browse. And what we've done is taken the approach with Airflow is to simplify, take a lot of the bells and whistles or deep functionality that are available in Flow Browse and sort of simplify an interface that users can connect to via a web browser. So again, I have the ability to look at these clips, review the proxies, and do a lot of the similar type things that I was doing with Flow Browse. So if I'd like to put a marker in here, I can certainly do this. Now this marker is searchable on both sides of sort of our cloud division of the public cloud versus the private cloud. So again, it's simple to do a search against this marker. It's going to find this marker and any other comments that have been tagged in a similar way. The this is also searchable in-house with the Flow Browse tool as well. It's sort of our first collaborative back and forth interaction between the public cloud and the private cloud in terms of how we contribute or collaborate between these two sets of tools. Other things that we can do, and I'll go back and forth just a bit. With Browse, we have the ability to make what we call projects. And these are cuts-only sequences that we can do in proxy form. Now this is a sequence that what we can do collaboratively is have groups of people access this, what we call a sequence or a project in Flow, contribute clips to that, and this creates, again, a first layer of building sequences or cuts only, or what we might call string outs, for people to use in a sequence and add these in sequential order. So I'm just going to go in here and find some short clips, add this to my sequence. And what's nice about this is we add these or look at these together, and now it's sort of stack these up into what we're all commonly familiar with as a sequence, or what looks to be like an NLE or an edit decision. This is also accessible and reviewable via the Airflow interface. So we already see this back and forth collaboration between the two sides. And this is a way to, again, review these sequences, contribute, add, trim, and edit these remotely. So this is stuff that EditShare has already been doing for the past few years. And we have a good notion or basis of these tool sets in terms of our development pathways on how to start to open up collaborative tool processes for remote users. The next logical addition to this sort of suite of products is a product set that Rich referred to called Flow Automation. And what Flow Automation does is allow us to create what would appear to be powerful scripted tool, but an interface to let you create these via a GUI interface. So I'm going to minimize my Flow browse. We'll leave Airflow open here. But what we'll also do is take a look at our Flow Automation panel. And what this interface does, it can, take a little bit of training to do this, but again, the beauty of this is that you don't have to be knowledgeable on a scripting level to create specialized workflows. And you may see in this window a list of things that are workflows, and these can be very exotic or very simple. And just going through some of these, you can see that this is a node-based architecture to create steps of triggers, potential inputs or sources of files, certain filters and tasks. And you sort of create a sentence here of a workflow in Flow Automation. We won't review all of these, but you can see we have some various, again, some simple, some complicated, of workflows that you can put through its paces on the system. These workflows or automation templates can be put to use in various ways. You can run these manually, and this interface that we're looking at right now is a bit of an admin interface, or someone that's in charge of creating workflows that you may want to simplify or reduce down to simple automated tasks for end users. We've got, again, these are named in various ways, send, approve to web. These things can be automated by certain, I mentioned, triggers. It could be aware of an automatic metadata change that someone creates. And in most cases, we can use a simple push button to kick off one of these automated tasks. We can also do watch folder type workflows to say that if there's a folder in a shared storage space on the system, you can certainly have the system be looking or monitoring for new files, and when those new files land, something else would happen automatically. A transcode would occur, a notification email could be sent to a listserv or group of users, something that kicks off the next step. It could be final delivery for web applications, transcodes of all sorts. So we'll talk about this as we show and look at a few of these other workflows. These can be put into implementation, and as they are activated, we get a status of a spinning wheel. It means these automation tasks are up and running and waiting to have things be done, or will execute these things automatically. We look at our scheduling tab. It will run a list or look at a list of things that are finished or attempted and give us a log of that, and it will show me the activated jobs. I've got 2 jobs sort of sitting in the background and running. So again, this is a little bit of an under the hood type interface. Again, maybe not for every user, but maybe more of your admin or sort of workflow manager type personnel would run this interface. Come back to this as needed. But the one thing I would like to focus on is something, we're talking about review and approval process. So send approved content in a specific format. This is a workflow example to an interplay system, which is another broadcast solution. Send approved to web. This also could be kicked off or queued by an individual checkbox. If I come back to this and I look at individual material via Airflow, go back to my list of available clips, and I look at something here, get a specific clip, and I look at clip info, and I have a template of certain metadata type. I have a lot of customized metadata options, but I do have an approved checkbox. So as an end user, I might have received a notification, and I'm asked to see if this, is approved for web delivery, or this is completely customizable. So the review and approval process could happen various ways. I could get an email that says there's a new content here in a certain space on the edit share for you to look at and approve, and I can checkbox this. And that checkbox could indeed kick off a flow automation process in the background. There also can be comments or notes put into this, even along with the approved, that notification may go back to an editor, and there may be something like, all good, please deliver to web. And this note may then cue them to, another person in the workflow to do the transcode and deliver this off to web. And these could be sort of a circle of flow automation processes or procedures that you might build out. A thing that we want to talk about today also is not just these existing tool sets and how they interact with metadata and queuing off automated procedures, but a few things that we're actually working on between now and announcements that we will be making at NAB. And a few of the things I can sort of give you a quick sneak peek at. A lot of the past couple of years have been this word cloud that we use, or circled around services or ways for people to have maybe copies of their material elsewhere up on the cloud. This delineates a little bit of what we're defining our conversation as a private cloud. There are public cloud or corporate clouds or services out there that end users can purchase. The big service provider that has made the most noise in this space has been Amazon. So we've heard from a lot of our existing customers the want or need to be able to have some sort of compatibility or delivery mechanism to take files out of our asset management layer in Flow and deliver those to the Amazon cloud storage, various services that they provide that you can purchase. So we've already sort of built these tool sets into our flow automation as an optional task or delivery set. And I worked with Jeff Herzog, our product manager, on creating one of these simple workflows to deliver to the Amazon cloud or web. So I have this as my Amazon automated task. And again, it really, if I can do this, so can you. I'd like to use that sort of definition of this workflow is that I sort of built this on my own with an Amazon cloud account for storage. We'll look at the actual interface on the other side here. Interface here, and I have a tab with my Airflow, my Amazon cloud storage, and I have just one folder or bucket, they like to refer to it as. JB Flow Amazon is the name of my bucket. Okay. And then in that I have a folder that is called Flow Uploads. You can see this is a very flat directory of our available files that are in our Amazon account. So what we've done is build a trigger in Flow Automation that is called Send to Amazon S3. And in this I have the credentials for my account and the pathway, the name of the bucket or folder structure that I want to deliver into. And I've associated that with a simple Send to Amazon checkbox. So what this does is in the background, anytime I have a file in this very simple workflow to demonstrate here for you, I have the ability to check a box and it will push a file to my Amazon account. So what I'm going to do is go back to Flow Browse, and the beauty of this is I could do it from Airflow as well. So actually, let's just do that. Go back to my tab and my Airflow interface. And you see I have, find this down there. Send to Amazon. So I've got, Fuse presents Drake 2. And what I want to do is just make sure that I save a copy or push this off to my Amazon cloud account. Pick off one of these from Flow Browse as well. And I do believe that is kicking off and sending to Amazon for me. It does say that that file delivered and is finished. Check this again. Oh, there it is. So I've got a windsurfing that I've contributed up there, and I've got Fuse CeeLo talking to strangers. So again, that's a very simple delivery workflow, and that's a first step for us. And we'll be sort of talking about this and these feature sets at NAB, and this being a first feature set is a delivery, and we'll also have a roadmap that will have some sort of restore and retrieval capabilities, that is also a buildable thing in Flow Automation and used with Flow Browse. The last sort of NAB preview that I'd like to really talk about is something that we won't demo a whole lot, but it's very, very new. EditShare is a company that has a tool set at its fingertips called Lightworks, which is a very seasoned NLE application. And what we've wanted, and most of the demos that I've done here for you have to do with doing cuts-only sequences, we've wanted to actually give cloud users more power in the editorial environment to be able to open up an interface and do much more than a simple cuts-only sequence and a single track of editorial. So the thing that we will be announcing at NAB is a new application set that's merging the power that we have within our Flow asset management database, the remote access capabilities of using Airflow to connect to that, and taking the tool sets and guts that we have with the architecture under the Lightworks nonlinear editing system, sort of merging those things into a new product. And that new product is called Flow Story. And I just have this opened up. Again, it's a very basic interface. Again, nothing that I'm going to spend a lot of time demoing. But basically, this has the ability to connect to the Flow database, browse the available projects that you might be able to open up and look at in the Edit Share interface. This has the ability to load proxies, work in low-res proxy remotely, also work in high-res proxy remotely, create multiple tracks of video, do dissolves, multiple tracks of audio. It has the capability of doing voiceover tracking. It really is a fully functional editing interface that users can access, do real meaningful editorial work in, and then actually, have those as projects that NLE users could open up on the back end in-house. There can be an AAF exchange with this of things that you create in this Lightworks interface, and those AAFs could be imported to the sort of traditional NLE of your choice, in Avid Media Composer and or in Adobe Premiere. So again, more to come, and please stay tuned for more information about NAB announcements, these things that we're in development and moving towards, and we'll have some nice demos at NAB and more information in press release form around and leading up to NAB. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay. Hey, great. Thanks very much, Jeff. I'm going to move on to our panel discussion now. And Nick, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate your taking the time. We've discussed a lot about Edit Share solutions for multi-site collaboration today. Can you give everyone some examples of how Jimmy Lee is currently using Edit Share for multi-site collaboration on editorial work?
Yeah, sure. So right now, the way we are using our multi-site synchronization, we are using the sync tool from Edit Share, and we sync a whole media space from one server to another server. So we literally push all the files from one server to another server through internet. And once it's synced to the other server, so the editor in the remote office is able to work on those files, the iRes file, and send us his sequence when he's done. We can also sync back the media space from the remote server back to the original server, so we keep the file in sync. Right now, all our North America's offices are on a 1 gig internet connection, and we're looking to get a private network so we can have greater speed between our office to transfer a bigger project. And we are still researching some acceleration services for our Europe offices. So that's the way we are collaborating with the editor right now between our offices.
Okay, great.
Hey, Rich, can I follow up on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say we're going to talk a little bit about that here shortly, so go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, this is Jeff Herzog, Product Manager for Flow Asset Management. Thanks, Rich and Jeff, for your great introductions and demo. I just wanted to note that right now the synchronization capabilities that Nick is referring to are some really great tools that work more on the storage level. So he's sort of taking on a media space level. The storage services are synchronizing media back and forth between multiple servers in multiple cities where Sid Lee has offices. I believe it's, Nick, Amsterdam and Montreal, is that correct?
Yeah, and Toronto and New York.
And Toronto and New York. So
exactly.
Right now he's using those storage level tools to synchronize between those cities. And we're also in parallel looking at ways to bring more granular synchronization capabilities on the Flow asset management level. So right now he's synchronizing assets and then relying on Flow automation to watch folder workflows to pick those assets up and scan them when they get to the destination city. And we're working on features to let you sync also the proxies and the metadata on the asset management level as more of a flow automation send to task. So it's a constant evolution for us, and I'm sure that when that's available, Nick will be taking advantage of it as well.
Sure.
Jeff, Nick had just mentioned in a different context, but he mentioned acceleration technologies. As I had mentioned today, part of what's new in Airflow is the ability to upload high-res material via web browser, allowing those in the field that are actually generating content to get it back into the home system and to be able to share it with everyone else. And obviously this opens up even more possibilities for collaboration outside of the walls of a facility. But clearly, as I was mentioning, bandwidth can be an issue for transferring large files. So what do you see as Editure's plans in terms of integrating acceleration technology to make those uploads happen faster?
Sure, yeah. Well, we didn't get a chance to demo the upload and download features in our brief Airflow demo, but for a while now, for the last couple of versions, Flow has given you the capability, Airflow, well, Flow Browse and Airflow, but more relevantly, Airflow has given you the ability to batch download one or more media files through your web browser to your local workstation from wherever you may be in the world. And that's using normal TCP, IP, standard sort of internet, protocols to download those files. Of course, with large file management, especially if you're working with needing to download high-resolution media, some sort of file acceleration technology could be very helpful. For smaller organizations, these services can be, in many cases, quite expensive to set up and maintain, both an initial cost and an ongoing sort of monthly cost. So Editure is sort of approaching this from two angles. For the smaller and medium-sized organizations, we're going to bundle some included acceleration called UDP acceleration, in the product, in the Airflow and Flow product, with a Flow gateway that will be a single point for accelerated uploads, downloads, and syncs between sites as a value add as part of the product suite. But we understand for larger enterprise organizations, they will also want to use their already existing third-party tools, such as Aspera or Signian or other acceleration tools. So we plan to integrate with them as well on a seamless API-level integration between Flow automation, Airflow, and those third-party tools. And I believe Jeff Barnes is bringing up the upload interface right now on his system. So the upload interface gives you a target for dragging files to upload, one or more files. Those will batch upload. You'll choose a media space, and once the files have completed their upload to the chosen media space, we'll automatically kick off a Flow scan and proxy making process, which will add the clip to the Flow database and encode a proxy file. So this is a great tool to be able to take rushes from the field and get them back to your central storage. This could also kick off further Flow automation jobs to flip them to a house editing codec or other workflows, and then let everyone else out in your group collaboratively access them from there on, either at your facility via Flow Browse and NLEs, or also back out to other users via Airflow.
Nick, since deploying the new solution, what would you say are some of the main benefits and efficiencies that Jimmy Lee has benefited from?
Yeah. We didn't have to invest on backup solution or archive solution for each site. So what we're doing is that we are syncing each remote offices to our main Montreal server. So we have a backup each night of all the offices around the world in our Montreal server. So that's one of the benefits that we have with that solution. It also helps a lot with collaboration. So if our editor in Montreal is booked and the editor in Amsterdam is available, so we just push the material to the Amsterdam server so we can use all our resources everywhere. Also with Airflow, it helps us with agency creative and director. They can review their footage, they can add locator, they can do some derushing, so they can create their own sequences and some pre-assembly. And we can just drag and drop this inside any NLE, so the editor is ready to edit with the creative or the director selection that they did on Airflow. Then they can do that on their iPad, they can review also on their iPhone or on their computer at home. And at some point, we're still testing this, but the editor from Airflow is able to download proxy of any file, and it can send us a final sequence, and we are able to relink the sequence in iRes in our offices. So if the remote editor is working with proxy, he's sending us his project, and we can relink it in iRes to do the online on-site. Not on-site, but in our office. So that's kind of some improvement that we are having since we installed the system last August, and we're pretty sure that we will find other solution to improve our work.
Great, thank you very much, Nick. Kenny, you're on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great, welcome. Kenny, as I mentioned earlier, is one of EditShare's system integrators, and he's put in quite a few configurations that include Airflow. Among the clients of yours that have Airflow, what are some of the most compelling use cases you've come across so far?
I think the biggest thing with Airflow is, so for example, let's cover some different verticals in media, entertainment, creative media, and specifically like trailer houses, where they have to have separate networks for producers that can only look at proxy-based footage. They're using Airflow as both an intranet and internet-based tool. So in the building to look at proxies and to mark up clips for review and approval, adding comments and so forth. In the news vertical, we're seeing reporters use it as a tool to create storyboards for stories that are going out on the day, and then finished with the craft editors, kind of with what Nicholas was talking about. And then we're also seeing it as a way for multi-site locations to be able to search assets from each location and then be able to download the high-res, as well as kind of an offline-online workflow where they're able to download proxy clips, take them home or be at home and work, and then come back and finish with the high-res without the need for relinking. So there's many different usages that we're seeing in the field. The simplicity of the Airflow interface makes it approachable for anyone involved in the enterprise, and the tool, there's enough tools built into it. Obviously we get requests for the transfer stuff that's been alluded to here and talked about today, the way to transfer between systems, whether it's through this Think server tool or using Airflow. So that's something that we get a lot of questions for, but those are pretty much a lot of the verticals that we see, and a lot of needs are very similar, but the product lends itself well to be installed in different locations and different verticals.
Okay, great. Jeff Herzog, the cloud has been kind of a buzzword for several years now, and obviously you've talked to a lot of customers about it, and you're integrating what's happening in the market as well as customer feedback into the product plans for EditShare. In general, in your experience, when customers say they want cloud capabilities or interested in cloud capabilities, and you learn more about what their actual needs are, what do they typically want to accomplish?
Yeah, it's interesting. When people say cloud, there's some misconceptions there. It's a generalized term, and people don't really know what it means, or it means different things to different people. There are really sort of two types of cloud services or infrastructures in play here. One is based on a hosted solution, which is where you have computing power or storage space that's in a hosted data center somewhere, and you may not actually know where that your data is physically residing. Typically, that could move around. It could be distributed across many different countries in many cases, and this works for a lot of different types of workflows. But for media production, when people say they want cloud services, what they really are interested in is anyone having access to media and metadata, at their facility. From wherever they are in the world, and it has less to do with where the data is hosted and more to do with access to that information. So the other type of sort of cloud services is what we call the private cloud, where you open up through a secured channel, access to your internal flow database and storage system, to those proxy files and that flow metadata out to the outside world. But the difference is you're in full control of all of the assets that are being accessed over the web. So whereas in a hosted solution, your proxy files might be on some random server somewhere in the world, and you have to actually get them there and then make sure that facility is secure and pay them a monthly fee. With a private cloud solution, you can actually leverage the hardware, the shared storage and asset management hardware you already have at your facility, to open that up to access so that the right people get the right, information at the right times and places. So that's really what EditShare's cloud is about.
Kenny, we've talked a lot about EditShare's private cloud capabilities, and we also touched upon the other components of a typical EditShare system, such as the central storage and the media asset management layer, of which Airflow is a component. In general, just looking across the EditShare, complete EditShare solution, what features and capabilities have you found that your clients value the most?
I think the biggest things are the interop between the products and how seamless it is to get from Flow Browse, the Premier Panel, and Airflow, having it all part of one ecosystem. The simplicity makes it very easy for and accessible for different levels of editorial staff, so whether it's editorial or producers. So they very much appreciate the simplicity of the system, as do the admins on the backside. But I guess the big thing is that because they're able to, in some ways, monetize the assets they have and to organize them better, it gives you a visual reference point on what assets you have and the potential for delivery and stuff. So I think that's a lot of what I see with having conducted training and support and system installation and designing workflows. I think that's the big part of what I see from the end users.
Can I add a follow-up point as well, Rich?
Sure.
Coming back to the cloud question again, and private cloud versus hosted cloud, where we do see a demand and a workflow that makes sense is, as Jeff Barnes was demonstrating, the need to be able to archive to hosted cloud solutions for longer-term, secure storage. I mean, services like Amazon Glacier end up making a lot of sense if you consider the total cost of ownership of maintaining those assets, in perpetuity for an archive on say LTO on premise versus on something like Glacier. It ends up actually in the long run making a lot of sense, because you don't have the sort of migration costs of LTO, et cetera, and you can just let Amazon worry about, the security of your data long term. But again, why we're pushing the private cloud for more of the day-to-day production work is just a couple-fold. One is the bandwidth concerns around, having to push your high-res. Many of these services make you actually push your high-res rushes to the cloud before the transcoding can happen there. Obviously, you have the capability to do that, but it may not be practical in many instances, as well as, sort of data security, and as well as that ongoing monthly fee, the cost associated with that, and overages, et cetera. With the private cloud solution, you're only really limited by the internet connection you got back to your facility, which more and more we're finding our customers are having fatter and fatter pipes back to their facility.
Yeah, something else I would add too, as well, as far as like what I hear from the client base, installed base, relates to what Jeff was talking about in terms of cloud-based deliverables, cloud-based archive. So there's a great need for services like Dropbox and being able to send links to low-res footage, or to organize assets that are for, say, a certain agency or certain department, and have it securely stored off-site somewhere in the cloud that they can access, and a way to leverage flow automation to deliver those review and approve content, as well as into a secure location. So those are a lot of what we hear from, or that I hear from clients in the field about cloud-based solutions, and how we can tie it all into the EditShare ecosystem, using some of the different tools like flow automation to deliver content to different locations, whether it's for archive or for review and approval.
Yeah, and as far as, other companies that have tried to approach the cloud question, obviously a lot of the big companies out there, Avid, Adobe, et cetera, have various, answers to this. Where we're going, the Adobe, if you look at the Adobe solution, for instance, Anywhere requires quite a bit of hardware. They've sort of gone back and forth on the requirement for that, haven't quite gotten the uptick they want. But again, it's people being able to edit remotely with the media wherever they are is the end goal. And what's the easiest, most user-friendly, most cost-effective way of accomplishing that? We believe with Flow Story and its capabilities evolving, it's going to be able to seamlessly switch back and forth between editing the Flow proxy files, which are already there, and the high-resolution media files if you happen to go back on site. So, something like that, we've been getting feedback from a lot of customers that are saying this is exactly what they need for quick, fast turnaround stuff, is be able to edit with the proxies, seamlessly relink to the high-res. Those types of workflows are very important.
Nicholas, whenever you embarked to implement this new solution last year, did you evaluate other potential solutions? And if so, why did you ultimately decide to go with the EditShare solution?
Yeah, sure. It was a 2-year research that we did. We've explored the Avid solution as well with Interplay, and also the MXF server solution with Isilon. We've kind of pushed really fast the MXF server and Isilon as a short story. We're with EditShare since 2010. We had a Extreme server here with a ARC backup tape. And just to get already what we had with EditShare by changing to MXF server, we had to add really a lot of third party to that system, since it's not by default implemented into their system. So we had to implement something for assets management. We had to implement something else for archiving and so on. So all of those tools that we were implementing to the MXF server in Isilon were not really talking together, so it wasn't really useful, and that brought the price of the whole system really expensive too. And there wasn't also no real tool for collaboration, what they suggest at that time when we do our research. Maybe it changed, but at that time they were suggesting to install a workstation on our offices, and that remote editor connect through VPN to remotely manage that that workstation. So it wasn't really working for us, and we switched to so we keep EditShare and Avid. And the Avid solution was interesting, but it was really focusing with Media Composer. With Avid, we don't really have the need to move a file from one server to another. So like I said earlier, for us, we have to sync the media space from one server to another in order that a editor can work with the footage. With Avid, it's kind of a streaming server that does this, but it's only working with Media Composer, and we are in the commercial world, in the advertising world, and we have to work with a lot of NLE like Media Composer, Final Cut, and Premiere, and we were not able to benefit all that what Avid is bringing to us with those NLE. And that's why we decided to go with EditShare, because it was more open on different NLE. The way it's working, it's different from what Avid is proposing, and it's good too, and it worked for us. And the other point also is that for the same price or near the same price, with EditShare we have a EFS server, which is really robust. We have redundancy on our server, and we have a lot of terabytes also that give us a lot of redundancy and a lot of security with the server. What the Avid solution wasn't able to give us for the same kind of price.
Great. Thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate your spending time today and giving us insight into your decision-making process and some of the examples of how you're using EditShare in really a four-city environment. With that, that's going to conclude today's presentation. I thank you all very much for joining us today. We did record the presentation, so we'll email it out to you once it's ready to go, so you can review and refer to it later. If anyone has any questions about anything that you saw today, a good general email address to contact is indeed sales@editshare.com, and we'd happy to have a conversation with you about any specific projects or requirements that may be coming your way. Thanks again for your time today.